From dog tags to ownership, heroes take the lead. Stories of veterans building dreams with passion, drive, and speed. From service to success, we're here to inspire the quest. Dog tags to ownership, we're the best. Take the prize.
From the battlefield to the boardroom, this is Dog Tags to Ownership, the podcast where veterans share their journeys from serving our nation to leading in business. Hear inspiring stories of grit, growth, and the entrepreneurial spirit that drives those who've served to succeed. Tune in and take the first step toward your own mission in entrepreneurship.
Military One Percenters, welcome to Dog Tags to Ownership, where once a week we interview veterans who charted a path towards entrepreneurship. Here, our goals are to share resources, advice, and success stories about starting a business, discuss strategies for building financial independence and creating your own path, and most importantly, build a community to support each other through the challenges of transitioning from service life to civilian ownership. Today, we are extremely excited to introduce our guest to the show, Jaime and Sara J. Jaime is an Army veteran and published author who, with his wife Sara, founded Bottleneck Distant Assistant Services. More than a virtual assistant, they created Delegation Roadmap and leveraged delegation intelligence to remove the bottleneck in your business, you. Jaime and Sara, welcome to our podcast, and thank you so much for joining us today to discuss your journey from dog tags to ownership. How are you both doing?
Great. It's awesome to be here.
Yeah, thank you very much for having us on. We're excited to chat with both you, Julie and Matt. It's a honor to get to be with you here and tell you a little bit about our story.
Yeah, absolutely. Even though you're an 82nd guy and I'm more of a 101st, it's still a pleasure having you on the podcast.
Yeah, we'll keep our we'll keep our division rivalries to a minimum here. But Jaime, to get started, can you first tell us a little bit about yourself and your military service and journey?
Sure. I joined the military in January, I think it was like 4th or 5th of 1990, and then stayed almost 4 years, part of the government drawdown that at the time, who was president at the time? Oh my gosh. Yeah, Clinton, thank you. Lord Almighty. And I was in Germany at the time, attached to 3rd and 7th Armored Division. So I was quite happy to leave at that point. A little bit later on down the road, I wish I would have kind of stayed in and fought a little harder to stay in. But I really enjoyed my time in the 82nd. I absolutely loved jumping out of the airplanes and doing all that stuff. And it was kind of strict. So when I left basic training, it didn't change too much as far as the level of strictness there. But I really appreciated that because although I never saw war or battle, I was totally confident with the person to the left and right of me. Whereas when I went to Germany, it was a little discombobulated and a little disconcerting as to, oh my gosh, does this guy have my 6 or what? So it was a big change from everybody same uniform, same everything for formations versus Germany. You could show up in a t-shirt. I felt like I was on an episode of MASH. And so it was really unique. That said, overall, absolutely super proud of being a veteran and being in the Army and the people that I was associated with, and just really enjoyed it. I was an 11 Charlie, so they call me a mortar maggot, but I spent probably the last year driving around RLT, and that was a blast. I loved driving those Hummers and getting around. And then when I got out, I found myself homeless. Went to lunch with my, at the time, then wife, and we had this whole game plan laid out, but she said, "You're not coming back to the house. We want a divorce and you can't stay with us," and which was her parents at the time. We were going to transition into getting our own stuff together and all that. So I found myself with a rucksack and my bag, U.S. Army issued bag with all my stuff. That's what I had. And I was walking down the 91 Riverside Freeway and camped out over underneath the overpasses. One day woke up and was really hungry, had no money. So I went to a McDonald's parking lot and begged for money to get me a cheeseburger. Ended up doing really well that day. So I got 2 double cheeseburgers and I just took a bite, didn't eat the whole thing, but I just put it back in my rug and walked some more. I ended up walking 52 miles in about 4 days trying to figure out what I was going to do. And luckily there's no cell phones back then, so I couldn't be calling anybody. Luckily walked to Huntington Beach, California, where I lived prior to my deployment, and met up with an old buddy, and they were kind enough to take me in for a couple months till I got back on my feet and got a job. And so I really appreciate what it is that we have today. And I understand how gnarly things can get being homeless and things like that as an adult. So it's pretty challenging. My future was pretty bleak at the time.
Jamie, you found yourself homeless after serving our country and our military, and you touched a little bit on it, the services and things that we have today to help with that transition. What was your mindset as you were homeless and trying to figure out what you were going to do next and walking 52 miles to find a buddy? What were the things inside of you trying to figure this out after being in the military, going through being told, hey, I want a divorce and nowhere to live and nothing to do, like nowhere to go really, essentially, and no money. What were the things, I guess, from the military that helped you continue to like push and know, hey, I'm going to make something out of myself and do this?
Well, the walking, the rucking, that was no problem. We did that all the time. That was pretty easy. But I don't know if I necessarily had a desire to push. I felt ashamed. I felt super embarrassed. I don't like selling stuff and selling the fact that I was homeless, like the looks that I was getting, and it was yucky. Like it was hard to be motivated. Thankfully my friend took me, and I was ashamed to sleep on the couch because I felt like I was a hindrance. And so I had to deal with that for quite a while. And Sarah will probably tell you, I feel like that sometimes too. I still feel a little kind of like I probably shouldn't, I don't deserve to be in this room kind of thing. So I'm still dealing with my own demons that way. But I think overall, when I got the first job, I got a job as a waiter at a restaurant called Bennigan's, and I met a lot of really cool people, and we started having fun. And I would spend as much time there as I could. I'd take up as many shifts as I could, so I didn't have to go back and feel ashamed sleeping on my buddy's couch or being there. And it took me about 3 months. I was able to get my first apartment, and I think that kind of started turning my life around. I started finding a groove again, and I felt like, okay, I can do this, and kind of overcame those challenges. But I think now when I look back to the Army, the drive is just kind of what they still into you, what they make of you. They break you down and then they kind of build you back up. And I think maybe that's kind of what I tried to do is I broke down, and then, maybe life built me back up. And then holy crap, I met this amazing woman in Sara, and that all those challenges in the past are such a distant memory. I almost feel like, man, I don't deserve her.
Yeah, so probably a good segue. Sarah, what's sort of your story, and how did you come to meet Jamie? What's your side of it anyways?
I'm not a veteran. I'm veteran connected. And Jamie and I didn't meet until later in life. We both have a adult daughter. They actually have the same name. So we have two Jessicas. With Jamie, though, we met on the hockey rink, playing hockey with each other, faced off against each other anyway. And I liked him. I kind of thought he was cute. And granted, back then he had a black beard. He had hair. He actually had long flowing hair and ponytail. Anyway, I didn't have the challenges that Jamie had, and I wasn't in the military. I do regret that. I wish I had joined the military, but God has a purpose for me, and I think I'm finding that purpose, and I found it with him. I didn't realize the struggles. Jamie would communicate it to me, what he had growing up and what he had earlier in life. And he would always tell me how envious he was of me and my family, just a big family. And, I was just like, well, okay, yeah, we have a big family. I'll just kind of stay here. But you guys kind of all moved away. And so it didn't really hit me. And then I went to Military Creator Con. And probably on the last day is when it hit me there. I was like, I get it now. I totally get it. I get where the envy or the, man, I wish I had that. I wish I had the support that you have. Because if something happens to me, I know I can call up so many relatives and go crash with them or live with them. Or if I need money, I'll help you. It's not a worry. That doesn't cross my mind. And seeing these guys at Military Commuter Con and talking to them, I was like, I get it. I get where James is coming from. So that was my big aha moment. And it's really changed the way I look at things. And like my drive, I understand his drive now. I really didn't get it before. He's like, the military doesn't. I was like, okay, that's cool. Yeah, I wish I'd been in the military, but it wasn't. And I don't really get it. And
I think that's like one of the most unique meetings on a hockey rink as well. So I don't know that I've ever heard that one.
Yeah, we lined up. I was playing left wing. She was right wing, and she had a big mouth protector in her mouth. So she was trying to talk smack to me, but it was kind of garbled. And I was like, oh, I like this girl. She's got some spunk. Meanwhile, I think she weighed maybe 130 pounds, and here I am, 250. Like, it was freaking awesome, man. I love at first sight.
And so how long ago was that you met? And then Sarah, I know you talked about Military Creator Con. I guess in that time frame you meet, you eventually go to the Military Creator Con and you have this aha moment. So I know there's probably a lot in between there, but can you just kind of fill in maybe some of the big milestones?
Well, we met in 2012, and then we got married, and I can't tell you the date, June 26th or 28th, I don't remember, 2019.
Just so you know, she had a leather bracelet made for me with our anniversary date on there because she kept forgetting it. She kept mixing it up, which usually it's the other way around, right? Usually it's me that would forget it, and but the problem with it was the wrong date. And so that forever kind of still messes us up. We're like, is it 26 or 28th? And I go back to the calendar on 2019 on a Friday. Yep, it's 28th.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sarah.
That's okay. We didn't want to get married. We both had been married before, and we didn't need that again in our lives. The marriages had been not good. And I think both of us in the back of our mind were like, well, maybe it's the marriage part of it, and I don't want to screw this up. Because there's a connection that I have with him, that he's my soulmate, and I can tell him anything, and I don't worry about it. Like, and he's got my back. It doesn't matter. And I could be at fault. I can do the dumbest thing. He's got my back. He doesn't care. He won't even say anything about it. He might mention it a little later. And another thing, I used to drink way too much. I don't drink anymore. So he had to deal with that. And I wasn't like a terrible raging alcoholic, but I was an alcoholic. And so that affected me, and I'm much better now. So that's another milestone that it's kind of like an aha, especially at Military Creator Con. And this has all happened within the last year, 2 years. We were driving side by side down the road, weren't even going fast, went around the corner. I wasn't paying attention, fell out the side. And next thing I know, I wake up in the emergency room or in the hospital bed, and I can't really function. And I had a traumatic brain injury. Evidently, a pretty bad head injury. And Jamie, thank the Lord, took care of me. And so struggling with being able to do the simplest of things. So now I'm pretty much fully recovered that, and stopping drinking, and Military Creator Con, and just the immense support I get from Jamie is just all like come full circle. He got me a Bible, and I love it. And I look at scripture a lot, and it's just been a lot of life-changing things that have happened within the last couple of years. So it's amazing. I didn't have the life-changing experiences that people have like when they're in the military, but I think I can connect. I can kind of understand what they're going through mentally or physically. Because I'm assuming, I don't know, when you have PTSD or you've been injured in the military, that it's just not firing for you. You want to be one way. You want to think one way. You want to be the positive person you were before, but you just can't do it and can't seem to get over that hump. It's like, I know happiness is right there, but you can't get to it. So I understand how that can cause a lot of downward spirals for people, and wanting to hurt themselves or hurt other people.
No, Sarah, I truly appreciate your honesty and vulnerability on here too, because again, we love to hear that. And for folks that may have been in or are currently in those situations that listen to our podcast, because there's a lot of folks that come on here and have a lot of stuff in their rucksack that we tend to try to unpack on here and give people hope, right? Like tomorrow can be a better day. Next year can be a better year. And it sounds like you and Jamie, soulmates, and you're probably in the best place you've been in a long time. And that's so good to hear. And so glad to hear your story. Jamie, I know we kind of left at your transition working at Bennigan's as a blues buster. We had those in Michigan, I think. It sounds familiar.
Yeah.
where does life kind of take you, and what's the evolution of employment and that sort of thing that maybe gets you to where you and Sarah are together and you start thinking about becoming business owners?
Yeah. Well, Julia mentioned a little bit earlier about the transition sequence. My transition sequence from the military was on a flight from Stuttgart, Germany to Fort Dix, New Jersey, spent the night in a room, next morning woke up, turned the last of my stuff in there because I'd turned everything else in Germany, hopped in a Humvee with a buddy of mine that I was served with in Germany. They drove us to the gates in Fort Dix and dropped us off, and the driver said, "Hey, thanks for your service." That was my transition. Reminding you, this is the end of 1993. There's no cell phones, right? There's pay phones. There's no Uber. So we walked down on the road for a while till we got to a payphone, called a taxi to take us to the airport. Mind you, I had $389 to my name at that point. The ticket home, luckily, was like $150 or something like that. So I was able to get the flight home, and me and that buddy, we both lived in California, so we flew to the LA airport. And then I had a friend pick me up from there and take me to see my now divorced wife. So that was my transition. Nowadays, I hear it's a lot better, but I still hear people complaining. My daughter just got out of the Army 4 months ago. She said her transition was amazing. And so she learned a lot. She's going to school now. Everything was taken care of, and she had a lot of planning. We never had that. That said, from that point, I worked at Bennigan's, met somebody there, was invited to go interview at a Fortune 500 company, got that job, and I started my corporate career that lasted for 12 years. Took me about 11 years to figure out how to get out of it, right? So I finally got out of corporate, and my very first client out of corporate was that company, my last company I worked for. So I never really burned any bridges. I did a good job of maintaining good relationships, but it wasn't, I was like, I felt I couldn't do anything. I had to get an attorney to sign off on this, or there's so much red tape. And I said, man, if I just did it myself, I could just do this stuff. And I did. And fast forward, 23 years, I've now been on my own and absolutely love it. We don't have all the support like you do in corporate America with regards to the insurance and 401ks and all that kind of fancy stuff. So it's a massive risk, right? But at the same time, we get to do what we want. We get to work with who we want to. If we don't like somebody, we fire that person, or, it's just super fun and great times. But now we started this company, Bottleneck, or I started it in 2016, fully formulated the name and incorporated in 2018. So here we are, in essence, 10 years later, starting this organization, but I've been sourcing assistants for 21 years. So I have a really good understanding for the arena, the industry. And now we love it. We've created a multi-million-dollar organization, and we did it all kind of from scratch, not really knowing what we were doing, but we've really figured it out. We have an amazing team. There's 46 families that count on us every month to pay them so that they can put food on the table for them. So it's really motivating. It's so cool to see the people that we work with. We've had people from the Philippines that have never owned a car, and they're 38 years old. They finally bought their first car. They've never owned a house. They've always rented. Now they own a house. We have one person that not only bought his first home, but now he bought a rental property. So it's amazing to know that they came to work for Bottleneck, and now they're building a life for themselves. And it's that part there really gets me. I love that we have such a good group of people that we work with. And then when we get calls from our clients saying, hey, Jamie, this is the first weekend I've had off in a year, so thank you for getting me this assistant. It's amazing. And then the wife grabbing the phone away and saying, thank you for giving me my husband back. And I mean, I'm a big, tough guy. I'm fighting tears back here. And it's not that I'm sad. I'm just so excited that we made such a massive impact. And transitioning from the military, going through all the stuff that I went through to get to where Sarah and I enjoy 70 plus acres in the beautiful Ozarks, and we have side-by-side trails and a shooting range, and we built this it's so amazing. And it's like, man, we are so blessed to be in this position, but it hasn't been easy.
Incredible.
Jamie, you said you built your first company when you got out of the corporate world, and your first client was your old company, and then now transitioned to Bottleneck. So what was that first company that you built, and then how has it evolved into Bottleneck and what you do?
So it was an SEO agency, and so I found out a really cool way back in the day where I could get you ranked on #1 in Google in like 30 seconds. And it was through video, and there was some coding you did to just kind of tweak it a little bit. And I don't care who was first up there, you could beat them. And I gave them a demo, and I said, hey, do you want more? And they're like, yeah, of course. And I said, okay, let's do this. And 30 seconds later, I said, go ahead and go into Google and see if you can find it. And they found it, and they were like, sign me up, so that was pretty cool. And then from that, it kind of morphed into a creative web agency, and I was part of a mastermind group, and that mastermind group said, how do you get this amazing help? Like, where are you getting these amazing people from? Because they were seeing what it was that I was doing. And I said, oh, from the Philippines, I've been doing this for years. And they said, well, can I get an assistant? I said, sure. What are you looking for? Well, I just need this, and that. I said, okay, here you go. Meet, Susie or Bobby or whoever it was. And the guy that led the mastermind is like, dude, you got to start a business doing this. I said, you think? He goes, yeah, okay. There he did. I said, I don't have to build another website. I'm in. So, yeah, we took off running and just absolutely enjoyed the process. And, yeah, we never looked back from there.
Can you explain just to our listeners too what Bottleneck is? And I know we kind of mentioned it in the intro a little bit more than virtual assistant, but sort of in that category. Can you explain it for our listeners?
Yeah. So I'm a big practitioner of category design. At Military Creator Con, we led a category design intensive with Christopher Lockhead and Mike Damphouse, of whom we affectionately refer to as DAMP. And it's just it's a completely unique and different way of looking at how you strategize in the growth or the development of your company. And so we wanted to I saw a lot of things happening in the virtual assistant industry that I wasn't proud of. A lot of the VAs, virtual assistants, were getting underpaid. Their turnover was extremely high. They would only last at a placement for maybe 5 months, and then you couldn't get a hold of them. They would call in sick, and being that they were so far away, a lot of people didn't trust that. And by the way, before COVID hit, not a lot of people knew what a virtual assistant was, right? I'm doing this back 22 years ago. Like, I was literally someone would send me a proof of a design through a 9600 baud rate fax machine. Like, you did not have the technology we have today. So what we do basically is we created a category based on our category design experience called Delegation Intelligence. And what I found was the root cause of not only the industry average 38% high turnover rate, but the average length of stay being 5 months. That doesn't work with a lot of organizations. I mean, 5 months is a good time to maybe build a campaign and launch it and kind of do stuff like that. Like, you're just getting started at that point. And so I thought, how can I overcome this challenge that so many people have, or this negative connotation that is somewhat automatically associated with virtual assistant? I said, we got to flip the whole thing on its end. So we got to recreate what the problem is. The problem is, what we finally came up with is, if you own your business, every single decision has to come through you, or you have to approve everything. Or if you've ever said that where you've had somebody help you out and you go, gosh, dang, they didn't get it. It's been like 3 times. I've totally explained it to them, but you know what? I'm just going to do it myself. I can do it faster. Those are all signs of what we coin the founder's trap. And that was the root cause, is that you're never going to be able to grow an effective organization if you're always having to be the person that everything runs through. If you can't take a week off of work or 30 days off of work without answering your phone or okaying something like that, you've got a serious challenge. And that is called the founder's trap. So we created Delegation Intelligence, and underneath that umbrella, it still leverages remote excellence, is what I like to call it. And I call all of them, so that I know AI is awesome. Some people hate it, but AI is here to stay. And so one of the things is, I truly believe in my heart of hearts, AI will replace every single human. Every single human. And people are like, I know, what are we going to do? We're not going to have any jobs. In 30 years, we're just going to be walking around with no jobs. We're just going to walk around because AI is going to do everything. And I'm like, well, you are right. Unless you become an AI-fluent human being, meaning that you're fluent in AI. Maybe not every single thing under the sun regarding AI, but if somebody asks you how to do something, you don't know how to do it, don't say, I don't know how to do that. Go to AI and say, this is what I've been asked to do. Give me 3 different things that I can reply back to so I can go present this to them. Number one, that's very proactive. Us as owners love when people bring ideas to us. We also hate it when we have to go, hey, where are we at with that? Right? What's going on? Can you update me? So how do we overcome that? Well, we put in a process somewhere. I say all of this to say what it is that we do is we install delegation departments in people's organizations. And they say, what the heck is a delegation department? A delegation department is ran by a leader, a dedicated distant assistant that goes in and leads all of the tasks, submissions, and communications. A lot of people have HR departments, but why is there still high turnover? Because they don't focus on delegation. And a lot of people will say the number one reason why somebody leaves an organization is why. Any guesses, Julie or Matt?
Satisfied? I don't know.
Not satisfied.
Job satisfaction, yeah.
I don't like my manager, right? I don't like the person I'm working for. And I hate to say this, but guess what? That's the owner's fault, the founder's fault. And the reason why it's the owner and the founder's fault is because they have this mindset, you know what, I can just do it faster myself. Instead of, I need to get the crap that's in my head out of my head and delegate this. So how do they do that? They write it down, they document it step by step. This is exactly what I do. So now when they hire somebody, they can go, this is exactly what I do. Delegation intelligence, 4 steps. Number 1, name the task. What's the name of this task? So everybody understands what we're talking about. Number 2, confirm the instructions of your point of contact. Okay, so I understand what you want me to do is A, B, C, and D. Is that correct? That is correct, but don't forget E. Oh, yes, I'm going to forget. I don't want to forget E. Now, all of a sudden, my point of contact or my leader now knows and has confidence that I actually heard what they were saying. The third is to schedule a time so that they can review and approve what you've documented. The fourth, create a signal. What action needs to occur in order for everybody involved to know that that task has been completed? That is where 99% of the people drop the ball, because that's where that question comes, hey, everybody, where are we at with this? That's why people have meetings. Where are we at with this? Where are we at with this? What's going on with this? We can avoid all of that. Too many meetings in this world. Too many meetings. Instead of taking that hour-and-a-half meeting, focus an hour and a half on revenue-generating opportunities, right? Mm-hmm. That's what I try to preach. And I also like to practice what I preach, so that's what we try to do. So you take all of that under one umbrella, we call it delegation intelligence. And so when you ask what it is that we do, we install delegation departments. So it's structured 3 levels. We use the framework of delegation intelligence. We install a delegation department. And number 3, we have a leader, a dedicated distant assistant who's going to run all of that on your behalf. Within 6 months, they've documented every single task given to them, and they hand you an asset. And this is called a workflow manual. And it has every single task, step by step, down to a click of a mouse button with written instructions, as well as a snapshot or a screenshot of what it is. And our clients love that because they didn't have to do it, but it's everything that they said. So if our DA ever goes on vacation, they go on maternity leave, anything like that, now all of a sudden somebody else can step in and not have to go, where's that document? What do I do with that?
So what you were describing for our listeners and followers out there is really the tenets of command and control, and understanding delegation to your subordinates and allowing them to make decisions and put the mechanisms in place to allow people to make those decisions and to be able to improve the organization is how I understand it, and what you all have built with Bottleneck, but through an AI and distant assistant type platform to really manage task track and all of those different things. Would that be pretty good summation of that from a military term standpoint?
Absolutely. I wish you could have explained it for me. It would have been a lot quicker. No, that's exactly right. So one of the things that I want to mention is AI is here to stay. I think it's important for us to kind of get a foundational understanding of what AI is. But I didn't start Bottleneck to be an AI guru, right? I understand the importance of AI, but I also understand the importance of delegating to somebody who is AI fluent. So 3 weeks ago, I asked my team, and Julie and Matt, maybe you know this already, but do you know what a polymorphic agentic AI is? Have you heard of that term?
No.
I have not.
Okay.
I use AI a lot.
It's a good idea if you go research that term. Go to Claude or whatever your LLM is and search please describe what a polymorphic agentic AI is and how can I use that in my company? And the short form of that is a poly agent. I asked all of my team, who knows what that is? They all said, I don't know. Well, the next week, we had the entire internal team working on designing their own poly agents. My web developer created a poly agent that will go in automatically, look at a website, and show you all the pages that are a 404 error so that he knows which ones to fix and how to redirect them so that that doesn't happen again. Our bookkeeper is already looking at a poly agent that's going to help her with their bookkeeping. The thing she's running into there is once you start giving some personal data and stuff and putting that into AI, she's unsure of that. So she's trying to look at for a tweak. But what's happening here? People are leveraging the AI platform to enhance their role as an AI fluent human being. So AI, even if it's agentic, which means totally autonomous, must be created within a process or a system that is designed by a human for a certain reason, right? That has to be done for a certain reason because that makes sense for this organization and what we're trying to accomplish, whether it's sales or marketing or whatever. But it has to be led by that human. And the humans that don't understand what an AI fluent human is, they're the ones that are going to miss the boat. And I say all this because if you're not looking at things like this, and instead of me going way deep into polymorphic agentic AI, I get to spend time with Matt and Julie and talk on the podcast and share time with you, right? Meanwhile, the team is working hard, right, figuring all that stuff out.
So we do have another, I guess, almost a colleague now or guest that we've had on before, and he does a clothing company, runs a clothing company, athletic apparel, and his business partner is explaining what you just did, I think without the complicated title, or maybe he did, but really neat. So what they created was someone that can basically go in and reorder stock of t-shirts, right? So they've taken the human element out of that and, done all the creation to make sure that on such and such a date, when it hits this level of on-hand stock, it's reordering right through the company, and really neat stuff.
I love that.
And I probably did a terrible job explaining it, but incredibly neat for a simple criminal justice major like myself. So Sarah, where do you fit in on the business side of Bottleneck, and what's your role in the company?
Can I say one thing, Sarah? Because this is kind of funny. I'll be real quick. Sarah asked me one day, because she wasn't involved with Bottleneck. It was just all me for the longest time. And she goes, Jamie, number one, where do we get our money? And how much money do we have? And I said, I don't know how much. So she goes, that's it. I said, here's the book, son.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So call me director of finance.
Okay.
I have a degree in poli-sci. I know this much about accounting, enough to be dangerous. Thank the Lord that Jamie hired Chanel, our bookkeeper, because she guides us, and she's like, not a North Star, but she is like, we can look to her for which way to go, what the forecast is, what we're doing, what we could do better with regards to margins and money and finances. So I became the director of finance, and I took over payroll. Jamie's mom, God rest her soul, she did the payroll and she did the books for you for a while. So I took over that role. It's a fantastic role. I love not doing the bookkeeping. I love having Chanel there to do it. So that's what I do for the company. I make sure payroll is going to get done on time. I'm kind of the oversight that makes sure it happens. I take care of all our integrations with bank integrations with so we use Wise to make international transfers, and we use eCard as opposed to Stripe because the fees are so much less. We use them for our credit card transactions. So I'm in charge of all basically that.
I think the important part about business ownership and being a team is having each other's back. And that's what you two have on a daily basis, is each other's back and helping move the company forward. Jamie, as you stood this up, and Sarah, as you've come along, what has been like your biggest challenge with your business and getting your business out there and really, and I know you talked a little bit about category design, Jamie, but building your category for folks to know what distant assistant is in Bottleneck. What has been your biggest challenge with that?
I think there's two challenges. Number one is you got to have some thick skin. You got to have some serious motivation. You got to have some serious drive in order to participate in a category design adventure. I'll say that. Being able to educate somebody on something that's never been is challenging. There's not a lot of early adopters out there, but that's exactly the target you need to find. And so that's challenging in and of itself. The second prong to that is AI. When people think virtual assistants, they think, oh, it's a AI, it's this, it's that. And a lot of people think, well, shoot, I don't need to get an appointment center anymore. I'll just do AI. They've got AI voice and AI, through LinkedIn. It automatically DMs people and you can make it real personal and all that stuff. That's fine and dandy. But again, you need a human being at the helm because that is going to break. I promise you. Right now, we have a free tool. It's called the Delegation IQ Blueprint. You go in 3 to 5 minutes, you answer 7 questions. You can use voice or type. We prefer voice because it's your vernacular, and we can extract that vernacular so that when we send a report to you, it's going to be in your language so you understand it. And that report will be, this is your company. Yes, we heard you, right? These are your challenges. So this is what is your pain point. These are how you overcome those challenges. These are the roles or role that you need to hire in order to do that. And by the way, if you do all of this, this is what your life is going to look like in 6 months, right? Really cool. Well, that AI right there is great, but it needed a human again to build it all, right? And I participated in that along with my friend Ron, who helped me build that whole platform. He's really good at this building out the AI stuff. But I tell you what, after 3.5, 4 months of doing that, I'm like, I'm done. I do not want to do that again. I just want to talk to people and tell them our story, right? Like, oh my gosh, it's like websites, coming back to haunt me again. And so I think a lot of us are in that same position, and people don't understand that. So those two things are probably the 2 biggest hurdles we've ever had to overcome and are still overcoming. So you got to talk and educate people on the category, because earlier, Matt, when you said you're kind of in the virtual assistant category, see, and right there, like I'm thinking, okay, so I'm internalizing. They think I'm already in the virtual assistant category, and I'm trying so hard to be radically different from that, is distance myself. And one thing you'll never hear me or Sarah or anybody on our team ever say, we're way better than them, or we're bigger than them. And if I'm going to start comparing myself to other virtual assistant companies, and that whole go-to-market strategy, go-to-market, what market? That market was defined by somebody else. So I don't even believe in go-to-market strategies. I believe that you have to have a category strategy and design your own category, because you'll never hear us trademark delegation intelligence. I'll never do that. I'll never trademark distant assistance. I had someone that owned a virtual assistant company that called me and asked permission. Can I call my virtual assistants distant assistants? Absolutely. That's what I want. I want people to understand and embrace delegation intelligence. Man, 20 years down the road, I think every single organization that's in a growth phase should have a delegation department. They should have, that should be as standard as sales departments, marketing departments, HR departments. You should, if you're a company that does not have a delegation department, how in the heck are you managing turnover or managing culture or managing anything like that? And so that thought process, that's what I need to get out there. But it is freaking tough, to educate people, because we're so wired on, okay, this is how I've been taught. Oh my gosh, you want to go in front of a bunch of business majors and talk about category design. They're like, but what's your go-to market? No, my Lord, I pop a fuse. But then if you look at the other half with AI, a lot of people, we lost a couple of assistants because they thought, I'm going to have AI do everything that your assistant is doing. But they lost the big picture. They lost the fact that now they're going to be heavily involved in AI. Well, now what are you going to do as far as revenue generating opportunities? You can't. You're head deep into this AI, so you're going to lose. So what's going to happen? Sales are going to roller coaster like this. So they're going to go, we got a ton of sales, so we got to do all this stuff, and I'll do this stuff. Crap, we don't have any more clients. We got to go get more sales, And they're just creating, and the AI burnout is true. It's real. And I think right now is probably the beginning of the bell curve for the AI burnout. You're going to start seeing people really start burning out. And the whole thing is, I've never seen a business plan fail on paper, but I've seen plenty of businesses fail because they're so radically socially being told that you got to do AI, they're forgetting about the big picture. They're forgetting about, hey, the reason I started this thing is because I want people to call me and say, thanks for giving me my life back. If it weren't for you guys, we wouldn't be able to go on vacation and not worry. I could literally go on vacation now and put my phone away. I can't because I need the GPS, but I can literally put my phone away and not take a call. And I know, and I learned this because when my mom passed away, I was gone for almost 45 days. During that time, I may have worked 3, maybe 5 days over that span. And when I came back after we took care of all my mom's stuff, not only was the company bigger, but our team, because we were so rock solid on systems and processes, even hired somebody else to help. I had nothing to do with that. To this day, we have a task management system that we use, a software called ClickUp. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it manages tasks. I have no username, no login, nor have I ever been inside of it, but we've used it the past 18, 24 months. So that's what I wish I could get across to people. So those are my 2 biggest challenges.
Challenges that, yeah, I think that you've spun into incredible opportunities. And I just want to make sure Julie strikes my comparison earlier to your company and virtual assistants. So I want to strike that from the podcast record. The longer I was hearing you describe it, to be honest, because, you know, I went knee deep or ankle deep on your website, but the longer I heard you explain it, the more I'm like, I feel like you're almost creating another version of yourself to take the place of yourself. It's almost like, not to over exaggerate it, but a clone of myself, right? That runs the business like I can, like I'm capable of doing, but so that I don't have to do it. Probably a terrible explanation, but that's what I was thinking, was like a clone. How many employees do you have now in the company? Are they all overseas? Do you have anyone else that's US based? And then another question I'll throw in there. Was this all bootstrapped? You don't have any outside investors or anything like that?
100% bootstrapped. Yeah. Blood, sweat, tears. Lots of tears. Lots of sweat. It's very humid in this office. And boy, oh boy, yeah, it's been a journey. It's been, holy cow, biting fingernails. Like, do we have enough to cover payroll? Okay, we don't have enough to cover payroll this month. Sarah's so good at staying in touch. Okay, everybody, I just want to let everybody know. I sent it to Wise. Payroll's going to be a daily. Don't worry, we will take care of you. We even had to separate out part of the team so that we'd pay part of the team on the 15th, part of them on the 20th, because we couldn't make payroll. Mind you, it's very, very human heavy, right? So payroll, even though we're working with people in the Philippines and Central America, where it's saving 60, 70 off of what it would take to hire somebody in America, it's still expensive. I mean, we're spending $50,000, $60,000 a month just to live, and that's not on us. That's just the company, right? So it takes quite a bit just to get that part done. And so that's nerve-wracking as all get out. But what I will say about that is it's highly motivational, but it can also be a detriment. That can also be like, and Sarah knows this. I've told her, I'm like, Sarah, man, I'm over this, man. God, I'm bottlenecked out. You know, I'm like, Lord Almighty. And I hate saying that because the last thing I want is for my team to hear that, but I'll tell them that's how close we are. Like, they know, like, hey, Sarah and I, we have a challenge. Like, we're doing everything we can. And when AI kicked in the first 4 months, we brought on 1 new client. We bring on 3 to 5 a month normally, which is fine with us. We're not a huge company, but what the heck happened? So we had to go and reimagine everything and kind of figure that stuff out. And so I think when I first started, I pretended like I was doing stuff. It was like I was faking it till I make it. Someone would say, hey, do you know how to do this? Oh, yeah. Okay, let's do a deal. Okay, yeah, fine. Woohoo, I got a deal. Holy crap, how do I do this? Like, I don't figure this stuff out. Like, that's how I lived the first part of my life. And now I'm letting people know, I'm like, I don't know if I can do that. I will do my best. Or I even so much so, you know what? I can't help you there. That's not our area of expertise. I don't want to let you down. I want the business so bad. And that's where that little, you know, you got to walk that line And you just got to be true to yourself. Is that your core area of expertise? Is that what gives you energy? Or is it just a little bit outside of it? Because that little bit outside can blow up into a massive problem. It only takes one pissed off customer to let the world know how shitty you are. You got to figure that out. And I think a lot of that comes with experience. And a lot of it comes from confidence too. I think if you have confidence, like, I am so confident that if someone engages Bottleneck for administrative support, we're going to knock it out of the park for them. I'm confident that that's going to happen. We get over 1,000 applications a month. We approve about 5% of them. Our vetting process is unparalleled. It's ridiculously strict. But look who we get out of it. Anybody that is our client that hires somebody, there's no way I would introduce that person if I wouldn't hire that person myself. So they go through a heavy duty 93 videos, certification, AI, all this stuff that they go through. And like before we hopped on this call, like I looked at your website and I did a little, okay, I remember, okay, yeah, I spent 15 or 20 minutes, right? These assistants spend an entire 8-hour day in our virtual training office learning about our clients. Who are they? What's their vision? What's their mission? What are their core values? What's their provocative point of view? You know what? Who's their competitors? I'm going to do a competitor analysis. And here's the agenda. So I'm going to be all ready. So on day 2 for them is day 1 for our client. They show up. Our freaking DAs lead the meeting. They lead the meeting of the owner of that company. The DA, who's never met them before, leads that meeting. And we get calls like, I was a little worried. I didn't know what we were going to do about training, and I saw the stuff that you sent me, but I was kind of still. But your DA, they had it all laid out. They had it all planned. They told me when our meetings were going to be. All I had to say was yes or no. That was it. And they told me, okay, this is what the first week is going to look like. This is what the first month is going to look like. As of day 60, we're really going to be rocking within the first 6 months. I'm going to give you a workflow manual with everything. That's yours to own. What do you think about this, 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 and this? Here's the priorities. So Monday, we're going to have about a 30-minute meeting. We'll discuss the priorities for the week. Every day we'll meet for a 10 to 15-minute huddle session. Is that okay to you? If not, what works better, right? And they're just like, what the heck is happening here? This is great, And they've never had that before. And that's what's missing is when somebody hires somebody, they think they're going to be an extension of them, but they don't take what's in their brain and share that by documenting and writing everything down. And it's just, that's delegation intelligence. That's what I can say.
Yeah, I always wanted my subordinates to be mind readers, but I found they're not capable of that. But I think you found the next best thing.
Sarah says, can't you see what I'm thinking?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, you pretty much built it, Jamie, so you should be able to see what she's thinking. So we are kind of getting on time here. So before we get to our last 2 questions of every episode, is there anything that we did not ask the 2 of you today that you would like to tell our listeners and followers?
We're just so blessed. Thank you, Julie. I don't have a question. Do you, Sarah?
If you're not sure what to do, just do it. Failure is not failure. Failure is trying and
Learning.
All right. So my question, we talked a little bit before we got recording here, but my focus or my passions in real estate. So I spend a lot of time reading, listening to real estate podcasts. Is there a book, podcast, or a book, something that you'd recommend to our listeners? Maybe that's been life-changing or just super impactful for either one of you.
Hold on,
Sarah?
before you answer that, Jamie, you can plug your book, but you have to plug a different book as well.
Yeah, well, I won't plug my book, but I'll leave it at this. If you'd like to learn about my book, you can Google it. But I will say this. The best book in the world that got me started was the blueprint for my business was Play Bigger, written by Christopher Lockhead and 3 other co-authors. They've since gone on to sell over 500,000 copies. It is absolutely amazing. What's the NBA player that passed away? Bill Walton? Is that it? Yeah.
yes.
He calls Christopher the quasar of business today because that book was so radically different. He's gone on since to write over 15 different books, but I would highly recommend Play Bigger.
For our last question of every episode, Admiral William McRaven authored the book, Make Your Bed. It can change your life and maybe the world. So who makes the bed at your house? And before we get to that, I guess I'm going to take a bet. My bet is it's Sarah.
Same. That's my bet.
Yeah, but you won't understand why.
Yes, you're right. So Sarah makes a bed. However, if I could take my camera, I would show you. So we live in 472 square foot cabin until we get our house built, right? It's super small. She's literally, she's 15 feet away from me, right? No, we, down here, Sarah, when Sarah builds stuff, I'm surprised she wasn't in the military. That stuff is not breaking. You can't move it. Like, she used treated lumber for a bed frame that she thought would be really cool that we could fold up into a couch. The problem was it took almost 3 people to fold it because it was so heavy. But that said, we didn't have room for a couch and a bed like traditional homes like we're used to, right? So we said, oh, let's build a loft. How cool would that be? Okay.
So is the ceiling like this close or? Okay,
No, our roof is pitched,
good.
so our heads
Good.
are here and our feet are.
Okay, but you don't want to pop up in the middle of the night or be
I can,
spooked.
no
Okay,
problem.
Jamie will just hit his head and go back to sleep.
And you have to be careful if you have to get out up in the middle of the night. It's a
Yeah.
ladder.
Well, I'm sure that's it's a lot of fun being in that in the cabin and honestly, I imagine there's a lot to be said of just living a very like simplistic life in that space and not being overwhelmed by probably the larger home you're building. But that's got to be nice. I do want to just wrap up the episode by saying it's been an absolute pleasure having you both on here. It was so good. Julie messaged me yesterday. She said Sarah's going to join us. And I always look forward to, again, having both the military member and spouse. Sometimes they're both military members on the podcast, having a good conversation, getting to know a little bit about your business, getting to learn about the challenges you both have been through and overcome and probably will continue to overcome. It fills up our cup, as I imagine it does when you have built what you've built and employed a number of employees that are also creating, brighter futures for their families and that sort of thing. So giving back, just making people feel good and being kind to everybody. So it's been a pleasure having you both on here.
It's been a pleasure meeting both of you, and thank you so much thank you for protecting me.
Military One Percenters, whether you're brainstorming your first business idea, already running a company, or just curious about where to start, Dog Tags the Ownership is the place for you. Please hit that subscribe button to receive all new episodes. Also, if you know someone who has turned their dog tags into ownership, drop us a DM on social media or tag someone. We are always looking for new guests to bring onto the podcast. And as always, Military One Percenters, thank you for your service. Let's continue this journey and working together to write our next chapter. Until next week, keep pushing to turn those dog tags into ownership.
From dog tags to ownership, heroes take the lead. Stories of veterans building trains with passion, drive, and speed. From service to success, we're here to inspire the quest. Dog tags to ownership, we're the best.